Abdul's up next. For those starting an SEO agency, what are some good tips to get consistent leads? Tried LinkedIn and some video audits with zero success so far, along with Upwork. I would recommend video email, video lead gen system. There's a few different ways that, like, our product called Video Lead Gen System is a method that I've used to land clients. I really developed the first version of it that I used for many years, way back in 2012. That was very time intensive. It was very effective. I was getting consistently a 35% response rate on cold emails. But it was very slow. So in other words, like I would always do video emails in batches of 10. And I would get, on every single time I would do a prospecting campaign with a batch of 10 video emails that were customized for each recipient, I would get either 3 or 4 responses, right? And out of those 3 or 4, I would typically close at least 1, but sometimes 2 of those responses into some sort of retainer model or lead generation. They would become lead buyers or whatever it was that I was approaching them for. So that's why I say 35%, because every time I did 10, it would either be 3 or 4 responses. About 2 years ago, I updated Video Lead Gen System to make it more and basically added another module that talks about how to streamline the process a lot better, to make it way more efficient. And you can use a VA for a lot of it, to where you can just record, what's called a common section or common video. Like there's going to be a big portion of the video is going to be common to all of the recipients. And it's just the intro that is unique to each recipient. So the intro can be very short, like 90 seconds or less. So that therefore you can literally record a whole bunch of intros unique to each recipient in very, very short period of time, and then have a VA do all the other work, the splicing of the intro to the common video, and then even do the emailing and everything else. And all of that process is taught in Video Lead Gen System. More recently, the POFU Live 2020, our live event, POFU Live 2020, so our live event from this year, I did another prospecting training on setting up what I call a prospecting machine. It's using the High Level platform. It's freaking fabulous. I've been able to use cold emails, not even video emails, but just straight cold emails, and get a 30% response rate, which is insane for cold prospecting. And it works really, really well. And I taught that specific method, including all the process docs on how to build that out in High Level, and everything is part of my POFU Live presentation, which is available in the POFU Live 2020 recordings. So those are the 2 products that I would recommend that you check out, because that's exactly how I prospect. And I do a lot of prospecting. More recently, it's been for lead buyers for my lead gen assets. I've got a bunch of leads coming in that I needed to monetize. So I've been doing it for lead generation. But in about probably right after the first of the year, I'm going to be going really heavy on prospecting for some activity-based services for tree service contractors, not doing like full-on SEO and everything else, but like doing like GMB posts and video ads. I'm getting really heavy in the YouTube ads for local right now, and that's a service that I want to provide. So it'll be kind of like a lesser expensive service. So I'm going to be doing a ton of prospecting, and I'm going to kind of repurpose the High Level prospecting machine for that. And that will be updated and added to the POFU Live recordings. And again, I'm probably going to wait till January to start really prospecting heavy for that. But I'm just telling you that because both of those products have been very successful, or like those methods, have been very successful for my own business, my own agency, my own lead generation business. So I would highly recommend that you check those out, and know that it's going to be updated once again in January, the POFU Live recordings anyways, and maybe Video Lead Gen System as well, with the with my results from my new prospecting campaign that I'm going to commence with in January. So anybody else want to talk about?
Yeah, I tried LinkedIn, and I'm surprised that he had 0 success. Well, was it free, or was it, Abdul? I need to know if you tried the paid or the free LinkedIn, because through the paid, like you'll get notified when there are leads available in the area you choose.
You mean like for Pro Finder?
Yeah.
LinkedIn Pro Finder?
LinkedIn, yeah. Pro Finder. Yeah, but here's the interesting part. Like, you can change the areas. You can change that. Like I was doing Virginia because I had a phone number. Then I went and got a phone number in New York, and I changed it, and I changed the area, and I got leads from New York. And it was really interesting because you're supposed to submit a bid, but what I would do is, hey, let's set up a call. Let's do a call so that I can properly go over what your needs are. So I would get them on the call, and once you get them on the call and they see who you are, what you do, and you show them. Here's the most important part of anything that you're doing is you have to be able to show that you can do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
You can't just tell them this is what I'm going to do for you, and then you have nothing backing up what you're saying. Like I could take them through clients and all of these different things that I have to show, this is what I can do for you. Give me 90 days. And at the end of those 90 days, then we'll discuss what my fee is going to be. Because it's never going to be as low as those first 90 days.
That's right.
But I'm really surprised seeing that the zero success. So maybe we should do something with that LinkedIn Pro Finder. I don't know. So something to think about. I don't have time to do it. But when I tried it, I did have success.
So that's just a couple other things came to mind as Marco was talking. And, there's the old tried and true method of going to like local meetups, lead share groups, that kind of stuff. You can go to meetup.com. And I mean, I'm assuming if you're in the US, you can go to meetup.com and you can probably find local lead sharing groups, your chamber of commerce, local chamber of commerce, like that in-person networking, it works. You can get local clients that way. I prefer to stick within a particular industry now, which is the tree service industry, or tangent industries like, land clearing, perhaps landscaping, some other things like that, but primarily tree service stuff. And so because of that, I can't stick to just local areas. So I've developed my own method, which I talked about, the video lead gen systems, that works really, really well. But something else would be like using, inbound marketing from, ads. You set up your own, and we talk about this in 2X Your Agency as well. The first part, 2xyouragency.com. If you go there, you can check out our training for 2X Your Agency. But we talk about, there's 3 parts to that. There's the pipeline, there's the results, and then growth or scaling. So in other words, that whole training is divided up into 3 sections. The first section being completely about filling your pipeline. As an agency, that's the most important thing. If what we hear are too many times with people coming into like Semantic Mastery Mastermind, for example, is they come in and they say, we get this often too, that landing new clients is the hardest thing for their agency, or the biggest obstacle to growth. And whenever we get on our mastermind new mastermind member calls, because we always do, a 30-minute call with new members. One of the questions that I often ask is, well, what are you doing for prospecting? Are you filling your pipeline with prospects? And it's very poor. Most of the results are like, most people just aren't prospecting consistently. They prospect when they need some clients. They go through a week or 2 of heavy prospecting. They get some leads coming in, then they work those leads, and they stop prospecting while they work those leads. And then hopefully they get a client out of it. And then they got to start that process all over again. A lot of the times, once they get a client, instead of prospecting throughout, while they're working the leads, they stop prospecting. And then once they land the client, they go through the onboarding process with the client. And so they don't prospect during that time either. So once they finally get the client up to a part where their time is freed up a little bit to where they can go back to prospecting and start it again. So it's always peaks and valleys, right? Peaks and valleys. And that's really not the way to do it. Prospect consistently so that you always have a pipeline full of prospects, so that whenever that's a couple things happens when you have a pipeline full of prospects. Number one, it's not as critical to close every prospect that you're talking to. And desperation comes through, guys. Like, people can smell desperation from, across the globe. And what I'm saying is, if you are desperate to close a sale with a prospect that you're talking to because it's the only prospect you have, that comes through, and people can detect that or pick up on that. And so, and I think that kills conversion rates. And I know because I've been there. Something else is when you have a pipeline full of prospects, you can cherry pick and only work with those that seem to be the best fit, the ones that you're most comfortable with through communication and everything else. Whereas when you only have a handful of prospects, again, you cling to those prospects and try to make the deal happen, even if you know it's not a good fit. Once again, how do I know this? Because I've been there. And every time that I've done that and I've taken on a client for money's sake, but I felt like in my gut, you know, I had this gut feeling that it wasn't a good fit. It turned out to be the case. Like it's a nightmare engagement. It's a pain in the ass to deal with. It causes a lot of stress, and it's the money's just not worth it. And so again, having a pipeline full of prospects is incredibly important. So when I say inbound marketing, again, go check out 2X Your Agency. It's very inexpensive, but there's a ton of training in there on how to fill your pipeline. One thing I recommend is branding yourself, you know, or your agency, however you want to do it. I think a personal brand is a little bit better than a corporate brand. It gets better results from my experience. But do things like YouTube ads, guys. Like YouTube ads are so incredibly inexpensive right now, especially. It's insane. You can get a ton of reach. Targeting options have gotten incredibly good. You can create custom audiences now, so you can literally create a bucket of people that are interested in, you know, a bucket of prospects essentially that you can market to on YouTube and Display Network. Those are all inexpensive ways to get to brand yourself and create exposure to your ideal prospect. So I would highly recommend that. And Hernan, I know you've got a ton of really good prospecting advice too. What can you give? Hernan?
Sorry, I was talking to a mute mic.
Oh, there you go.
I think that in 2X Your Agency, we actually have a full module, which was one of my presentations for Pullful Live 2018. And I kind of expanded that last year, but it was about the Eagle method, right? And on that method, like, which is explained, by the way, in 2X Your Agency, I walk you through step by step on how to create a personal brand and how to create content that people come in and consume, so that you don't have to go out there and do pretty much any of the heavy lifting, because you're putting together those systems so that people will reach out to you, right? So you're not depending that much on referrals. Referrals are great, but they're not consistent. So if you put a system like that where you're putting out content and you're advertising that content, that helps you, you know, getting features and experts. So in 2X Your Agency, it's everything, you know, everything is explained step by step. So, you know, Bradley has a more like outbound approach. I have a more like inbound approach. And if you combine the two of them, you can grow up an agency pretty quickly. So that's what I would say.
Anybody else? Okay.